Hello and thanks for joining us for another World Cup special here on France 24. What a day of shocks it's been. Germany, they're out of the World Cup. They beat Costa Rica 4-2, but because Japan also shocked Spain 2-1 with the win, those two teams go through. And Belgium, they also crash out after a 0-0 draw with Croatia and a Morocco victory over Canada. Joining me here to go through all the thrills and spills and shots and flops of those results that you see on your screen there, I am joined by Ruben Slachter from Eurosport. Ruben, a quick word on a crazy day of action.
It was honestly one of the most incredible days I've witnessed in World Cup history. So let's start because we don't have too much time to lose.
Absolutely. At one point, both Spain and Germany, they were heading out of their group. And for more, our sports editor Simon Harding, he was at the Al Bayt Stadium to witness almost history from Germany. Simon, what a match. Hansi Flick's team, they are out of the World Cup. Second time in a row. Just how big a deal is it for Die Mannschaft to go out at this stage?
Yeah, it's an absolutely massive collapse of German football. Unexpected, unbelievable, really. The German press Bild already branding it as wie peinlich, how embarrassing. Wir sind raus. We are out. So as you mentioned, Germany for the second World Cup running head out in the group stages. Germany, who are four-time defending champions. Germany, who won the World Cup as recently as 2014. Hansi Flick, the former Bayern Munich man, brought in by the German Federation to be the bridge between the old generation, embodied by Thomas Müller, who hasn't scored a goal at this World Cup, despite being the choice centre-forward, and the new generation of players, Jamal Musiala, for example, who has been absolutely exceptional, but whose end product, just as it did tonight, was once again missing. Germany, who will feel hard done by in many ways, but who paid 15 minutes against Japan. That's how tight the margins are in football. They dominated that game against Japan until the Japanese got the equalising goal. They should have been 3-4 goals up by half-time. They didn't. They then drew against Spain with a late Niklas Füllkrug goal. And in this game, again, they hit the post twice. They didn't really start attacking until Costa Rica got an equalising goal. And for 3 surreal minutes, we actually had a scenario where both Spain and Germany were going to be heading out of the World Cup. But Germany, this game, they could have scored the goals that they needed, and they just didn't. It's an absolute collapse of German football. And with the Euro, the next Euro on home soil for Germany, there's a lot of rebuilding to do before then.
Thanks, Simon. So much more rebuilding to do, but they do have the likes of Jamal Musiala, but it seemed like he was fighting a lone cause there, Ruben.
Yeah, yes and no. I have to admit and agree with Simon. They easily could have scored 10 tonight. And only Musiala himself, he already could have scored 5. It was such an incredible game. If you look back at it, with all the opportunities, especially in the last half an hour, they had the Germans. But also, it has been such a strange tournament for them. And it's now up to them to finally make those real choices. Simon told already about Thomas Müller. Maybe Manuel Neuer as well, and they need a real leader that stands up, because that was also why they won in 2014, because there was that real nice balance between new talent, between those old leaders, and that's what's lacking right now, it seems. There's no real need for them. It seems that they're not the Germans anymore, because the Germans, they were always so strong and just...
Such a machine, right?
When it needed, they always stood up, and that's exactly what they're not doing right now, strangely enough.
Not doing right now. Well, they still won the game, but they're still out. The game, though, itself was significant not only for that result, but also because France's Stéphanie Frappart became the first ever female referee to take charge of a men's World Cup match. Of course, she's no stranger to the big stage, often involved in other women's World Cups. When interviewed in June, she spoke of her pride at being selected for this tournament. Let's just quickly take a listen.
I felt enormous emotion because it wasn't particularly expected that I would be picked. So I feel a lot of pride, a lot of honor to represent France at the World Cup. I think I'll have everything that's around me in my mind, and the aim will still be the same, that is the referee according to the performance on the pitch. So I'm really going to head into this with enormous emotion because clearly the important thing is the pitch.
And I want to come back to you if you are available just for a second. Stephanie Frappin, she headed up an all-female refereeing team in Qatar. It's a country which has been accused of, at times, violating women's rights. Is there any significance in the fact that this is now the first all-female team to officiate a match in the Gulf nation?
Yes, it's very significant. I think the fact that women have been selected, and we can go back to what happened in a tournament here in Qatar a few months ago when female referees were the only ones not to shake hands with the Qatari officials, which made quite a lot of noise at the time. But it's about furthering what happens for female referees in the global game. Now, let's not forget that Stéphanie Frappin is also massively experienced. First woman to referee a game in Ligue 1, first woman to referee a match in the men's Champions League. So she's been there before. She knows how to cope with the pressure. And if you look at the game itself, she got most of the decisions, if not all of the decisions, absolutely spot on, whether it be for tight offside calls and other factors like that. You do wonder, with everything that's going on in Qatar, how much of a political stunt this also becomes, whether it's just there because, you know, it had to be there. But of course, you would imagine and you would hope that Stéphanie Frappin was chosen just on merit, and it was an all-female team. We saw referees as well who refereed at the Africa Cup of Nations, the Rwandan referee, you know, so it was an ensemble. And Stéphanie Frappin, ahead of the game, said that, you know, she thought about not refereeing here in Qatar with everything going on, but how can you refuse a World Cup game and to referee on the biggest stage in what is the biggest football tournament in the world? And you agree with that assessment? Good game from her?
Yeah, well, I would like to know from Simon if he thinks that last goal was offside or not, because, yeah, I saw the same goal, almost the same goal ruled out yesterday for France against Tunisia, but I have been explained here tonight that it's not exactly the same situation, but I don't know what Simon will say.
Si?
I think if we're talking about the fourth goal,
yeah.
I believe for Germany, the Füllkrug goal, then I don't believe it is offside. Having said that, it was a difficult one. It took a lot of time, but the fact is that Füllkrug looks definitely in line with the ball. It's headed back across to him. The runner, the VAR check, in my opinion, was checking for the runner as well when the instance when the ball was initially played. Though I must say that in the stadium we didn't have the VAR on screens in front of us to have a look at that. But in real time, it looked like the correct decision, certainly.
I think the main issue is that we now having two goals which are quite similar in 2 days, and one is ruled out, the French one, and this one is given as a goal.
Right?
Honestly, I agree with Simon that it should have been 2 goals, the France goal as well. But now, yeah, it seems a little bit strange that 1 day after the French goal that they are now now giving this goal. That's the only thing I want to say.
Well, we will see what happens with that French inquiry into that goal. We mentioned all of the drama that happened in Germany's exit. And that's because Japan stunned 2010 champion Spain 2-1. Alvaro Morata with the goal for Spain, Ritsu Doan equalizing for the Samurais, and Ao Tanaka claiming a hugely contested winner. And we need a little bit more clarification about that winner from Selina Sykes, who was at the game. Selina, the ball looked to go over the line just before that goal.
Well, I think maybe it depends on what team you're rooting for and what angle you were looking at it. Most importantly, there's been a lot of debate here of my colleagues. It was very much a moment of wasn't it or was it? It was initially ruled out by the assistant referee who signalled that the ball had gone out of play, and then it was VAR that deemed that the entire ball had not gone out of play. From what I understand, if the curvature of the ball is not completely over the line, then the ball is in, but that should shouldn't really take away from what was a dramatic night of football and a very heroic performance from the Japanese. The Samurais slaying two European giants in Qatar at the same stadium. In fact, a lucky stadium for them at Khalifa International Stadium. They really played with their hearts and topped Group E in a big upset for the two European sides here. The Spain were far more dominant in the first half and had far more possession throughout the game. And as you said, they took that early lead, but then the tables were completely turned. The game completely turned on its head at half-time, a bit like the same thing it was during the Germany game here. And it was the goal just 3 minutes after time with Dohan, the super sub, once again turning the tables for Japan with a brilliant shot from the edge of the penalty box, putting the Japanese ahead. And then it took them remarkably just 142 seconds to get their second goal with that questionable goal, as we've just spoken about. But it has been deemed to be a goal. So that means that Japan have won here this evening in remarkable fashion. And just a bit of a stat for you, they had around 18% of the ball this evening. That apparently is the lowest possession ever recorded for a team who have won a game at the World Cup.
Selena, that's a remarkable statistic, and it all got sparked, that comeback, by that mistake by Unai Simon, the Spanish goalkeeper. Are they missing David de Gea?
Yes and no. I mean, it's a completely different goalkeeper as well, David de Gea, but we know why he has been chosen. I mean, Luis Enrique is really putting confidence in the players he wants to play with, and these are his choices, so he will take full responsibility for it. It's clear that Unai Simon is not the most convincing goalkeeper in this World Cup, that's for sure. And just to add, the ball wasn't completely over the line.
It is spherical, of course, so you have to bear that in mind.
But okay, they now have all the cameras, and it was you could see that there was a little bit of ball touching the line, but that's just one of those incredible situations again.
Just absolute millimeters. Well, it was so much drama, and of course it doesn't end there, as the Red Devils of Belgium, they also crashed out of Group F after a dismal 0-0 draw against Croatia. Selena, you were also at that stadium. You've been moving around like anything. The golden generation of Belgium, it's done.
It would seem so, wouldn't it? There were so many high expectations for this golden generation, with so many big stars, just to name a few: Kevin De Bruyne, Hazard, Romelu Lukaku, Courtois. But they didn't rise to the occasion here in Qatar. It's never an easy label to carry, being a golden generation. There's a lot of apprehension among teams about carrying such a label, especially a country such as Belgium, such a small country such as Belgium, with a population of just 11 million. There were so many questions in the run-up to this World Cup about it being an ageing side, with many stars perhaps past their best, especially in the defence, with young Vertonghen and Toby Alderweireld long beyond their heydays at Tottenham. Even Eden Hazard, a Belgian talisman, obviously after having so many years of injury woes at Real Madrid. Also, really maybe perhaps not the Eden Hazard that all the Premier League fans remember so fondly. Even Romelu Lukaku, he has struggled to be fit in time for this World Cup. And, well, even Kevin De Bruyne at this World Cup, he is the Belgians' midfield magician, but even he has had a very disappointing tournament. And there have been reports of rifts in this Belgian side, which may have played a big factor here in Qatar. There was an interview that Kevin De Bruyne gave to English press, saying that he thought that the Belgians had no chance of winning this World Cup, deeming them to be too old. That I won't go into it all, but seemed to have sparked a series of rifts in the Belgian side. The coach, Roberto Martinez, saying that it is fake news. There was rumours of fights in dressing rooms. A very divided Belgian side, it would seem. They had come into this tournament as one of the favourites after an impressive 2018 showing and having come in third place. But this has been a very lacklustre showing from the Belgians. That very poor, scraping a win in their first game against Canada, and then that shock loss against Morocco, and then obviously that 0-0 draw against Croatia. It really didn't seem that they wanted to win it. There was no urgency from them in the first half, and the second half, well, they came to life, but it really wasn't enough for them to turn it around in 45 minutes, having needed that win. They've had just one goal in the group stages in Qatar. Just for context, in 2018, they scored 9 goals in the group stages in Russia, so very much a problem up front, it would seem, as well.
Selina, such a comprehensive roundup on the failures of Belgium, but where there was tragedy for them, absolute brilliance for Morocco. They go on to win the group 2-1, final today against Canada. What kind of a job has Walid Regragui come in and done?
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, he managed now to make a team out of all those individuals, and bringing back Hakim Ziyech especially was just a fantastic choice.
The scorer of the first goal.
Of the first goal, and by far the best player of this Moroccan team, which is incredible to say with a team with Achraf Hakimi in it as well. But Hakim Ziyech is doing miracles. He was excellent in the game against Belgium and today as well. Honestly, this wasn't the best game of Morocco today, because Canada was at least even point with them. But okay, there was maybe a little bit of tension because they were so excited about going through, and now they are through. 7 points, no losses in a group with Croatia, with Belgium, and with a strong Canadian side. So only respect to the coach, because he made out of a team, a Moroccan team that now finally plays with the heart and the head together. That's such a pleasure to watch, and let's see what they can do against the Spanish.
Let's see what they can do against the Spanish indeed. That's their reward. Morocco face off Spain in the last 16, and that is Japan against Croatia.
Yeah,
for their efforts. So, believe it or not, there's just one day left of those group stages in this edition of the World Cup, starting with a game titled as a revenge clash, Ghana taking on Uruguay in that 2010 Classic replay. The South Americans progressed on penalties, if we remembered, off that infamous Luis Suarez handball. Portugal, they're already through. They take on South Korea in a match for pride. Then in the late games, Serbia plays Switzerland in Group G with everything at stake. Cameroon, though, know that anything but a win against Brazil, they will be out of the competition. We see those fixtures lined up for a fantastic Friday. And one last remark on what game you're looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to Serbia, Switzerland, and Ghana, Uruguay, of course. But Serbia, Switzerland, there's also a lot of talks about the last time they played against each other, also in Brazil, where there were a lot of things happening with Swiss players with Kosovar and Albanian roots. So I think that will be a crazy game.
We'll see the politics if it does emerge, but hopefully it will stay on the pitch. That's all the time we have for this evening. It's been fantastic. Thank you, Ruben. Thank you to Simon and Selina from Qatar. And thank you to you for watching. It's bye for now.